If you know, you know.
It's TCA in stereo.
From the city to the lake, we make a noise.
It's TCA Summer Sessions. It's TCA Summer Sessions. It's TCA Summer Sessions. Let's go. It's TCA Summer Sessions. It's TCA Summer Sessions. It's TCA Summer Sessions. Let's go. Let's go.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome inside a summer edition of the Tall Can Audio Podcast. Matt Robinson with you in the moment in the TCA studio in beautiful Bytown, Canada. You know we've been playing fast and loose with the rules of time and whatever, back and forth from lakefront to the studio. This is happening in the studio. It's been a minute since we've been able to get this guy in here. Ian Mendes back in here. How's it going today, man?
Hey, doing great. Doing great. Loving the summer vibes on the show.
Yes.
So
Appreciate you coming back.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a year, a calendar year, right?
Yeah.
Like since, I can't remember exactly when you were last in here, but it was before some fairly sizable changes in your world.
yeah, and so it's pretty much here, late July, early August.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 1 year anniversary of me jumping over to I don't know. Is that the dark side?
I've been calling it the dark side. I'm
Is
not
the
sure.
media side the
Sens
dark
fan-
side?
Right, well, okay. Now this is
depending
a very
on what side of the fence
philosophical
you're
debate.
on,
Yes. Okay.
the other side is the dark side.
Right.
So
Meanwhile, for me, anything Sens related is the dark side. So
That's right.
there's a number of ways to come at this.
yeah, I should have thought twice about. Wait a minute, I'm joining a Leaf centric podcast. What am I doing here?
I got the guy. I managed to get him to come in here. I didn't remind him of any of that till.
Yeah, until I walked in here and I see there's a Curtis Joseph
Oh yeah, there is.
8x10. There's a
Some
William
Nylander.
Nylander picture. The Steve Dangle's book is up on a bookshelf. I'm like,
You're
why
missing
am I
the best
in here?
one. Trish Stratus
Why?
in the Leaf jersey up there. That's the gold right up on the wall. So
Okay.
we always love Trish. Always got time for Trish. You know the gimmick around here, Ian. What beer have you chosen to ride with here on the
Why are you
pod?
laughing when you ask me what beer?
That was a
Because
really douchey thing to do.
This is on brand for me.
Yes.
I'm an Ultra guy, Michelob Ultra guy. But, you know, if you had handed me a Molson Ultra, that would have been fine. You could have handed me a, Heineken now has silver,
Okay.
which is the same thing. Any of those, Coors Light, Bud Light. But I feel like Coors Light and Bud Light and Miller Light, that's like a little bit older.
Right.
Like Michelob Ultra is the...
The hip guy?
No,
This is the
I don't say hip, but it's
slightly younger.
slightly younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
what?
in my
I
late
would give you a
40s.
pass.
This feels like the beer for me.
It's it reminds me a little of, you know, when you talk about older beer, Molson Golden, right? Like my dad told me back in the day that he used to drink Molson Golden. And there was a brief moment, I think probably just bad luck for Molson, that they had already scheduled to re-release it in the summer of 2020 when it was hard to do a lot of socializing, hard to do a lot of things. But they put it out in these bottles, and I remembered my dad talking about it, so we grabbed a couple of these bottles to try. And, for him, it was supposed to bring back great memories of his younger days, and for me, it was going to be something new to try. And he took one swig of it and went,
No good.
that tastes like pony piss, is what he said. And just like it did back then, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, fair enough.
But what's the difference between I have this vague recollection of Molson Golden commercials.
Right.
But what's the difference between Molson Golden and Molson X?
Less pony piss in the X,
Yeah.
I think. I went, I'll blow through it quickly because the listeners probably heard this story before. I went on a baseball tour, Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium, Baseball Hall of Fame, like a kind of a chartered tour. And one of the guys was asking, he's a beer guy, and he said, when you're at home in Canada, we hear all about Canadian beer. What do you drink? And I said, at the time, I drink Canadian. He goes, yeah, but what? Like what specifically? I said, it's actually called Canadian. We're not very creative up there.
Yeah.
I said, it's Molson Canadian. He goes, oh, okay. So we end up in a hotel in Albany or Syracuse or something around around Cooperstown. And he comes over, he goes, hey, they've got your beer. And it's Molson Export. I'm like, that's not my beer. But he's been nice enough to buy us a round, so you're going to have it. He goes back like 2 or 3 more times as you're kind of talking. So I went up and got the next round, brought back, I think, Miller or something. He's like, hey, I thought that was your... And I said, It says right on the thing, export. That's the shit we send out. We don't want. That's what we
right.
send to you, right? So
The export.
this is it.
All right, so I can crack this open?
Do it. Yes.
Crack open my Ultra.
Over here, I'm going with one I've talked about a few times this summer. Lake Bay's The Entangled Dark IPA. 7%. I've talked about it a few times already this summer, so I'm not going to dive too deep in it. But it comes from our friend Angela Thompson from the Lake of Bays Brewery, who you got a chance to reconnect with here recently.
Yeah, that's right. Your 10th anniversary
Yeah.
extravaganza.
And to your credit, man, you walked right into a craft brewery like you'd been to one 1,000 times before. You tried our beer.
Look, I am trying to shift your podcast to a red wine kind of whiskey bourbon podcast. And when you do, in about 10 years from now, you're going to shift over and then I'll be ready to go.
Dean Brown said that to me at some point when he was on the show. He goes, at some point, you're going to hit an age where bladder management becomes a bigger issue and you will stop wanting multiple tall boys and you'll want something you're just going to sip on. And we're not there yet.
Your whiskey years.
This is it. You're just back from Europe. You were over not too long ago.
Yeah, I guess so. A couple of end of May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just back is, as I said, we're playing fast and loose with the time periods around here. Find anything over there in terms of wines or whiskeys, or I know you're not probably sampling a lot of beer. Anything memorable?
Yeah, great question. A couple of years ago, my wife and I went to Italy, and that was the year we discovered Aperol Spritz.
Okay.
Which has now really become quite popular in Canada.
Yes, it has.
But it, I'm trying to think. We went to Spain this time around. We were in Barcelona and little island of Mallorca, and I'm trying to think. No, you know what? There wasn't like you'll be very disappointed. I don't think I did any beer on that trip.
That's why I asked. Whiskeys,
so.
wines, anything like that stood out.
We did some wine. We did some, cocktails, lots of cocktails. But no, nothing that's jumping out at me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair because it has been a little longer than I suppose I suggested that it had been. We can't expect the guy's memory to hold up to it.
Yeah, from 6 weeks ago.
It was funny, that when you walked in, there was a moment there at the TCA 10th anniversary party, which we had over at the Nita Beer Company, and I had sent you a text, and look, you're a busy guy. I get it when I don't always hear back from you, but it turned out this time you were in Europe, legitimately. You weren't just ducking my text.
Yeah, you know what?
Time.
I was.
Yeah,
I was in
that's
Europe.
Right. And you texted and said, if this is still happening, let me know when and what. And when you walked in, there was like this kind of buzz. Like everybody was like, hey, Ian's here. Ian showed up. And at one point, there was almost like my co-host Rob said, I think they're having like a little Bell Media staff meeting over at this other table, right? Like Graham Creech and you and Matty Conasvita and
AJ
Steve Bunda,
came by,
AJ,
yeah.
all of you guys at one table and the rest of us sitting over at one. We're like, it's kind of like one of these grade 9 dances with the boys over here and the girls over there. Like,
and the Bell Media.
But that was all you. When you walked in, I think people were pretty... I know you still see those guys from time to time, but you're a bit of a magnet, man.
Wow. So when I walk into a room of... And that was a really fun event that you had at Nita. Because I you know what? I can shout them out here.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to sound like weird hyperbole, but that might have been the best hot dog I've ever eaten. It was at Nita. You want a little life hack?
Yeah.
If you live in the south end of Ottawa, and they're kind of like Marival Hunt Club-ish, right?
Like right off Colonnade there.
Yeah, Colonnade, Marival Hunt Club, that sort of area. If you're ever in the south, I guess we call that the south end of the city, and you're just like, man, I could go for a good hot dog right now. A lot of you in that area might just be attracted to Costco.
Sure.
You might be like, Costco's hot dog. I can't tell you how much better the Nita hot dog was. Get yourself to Nita Brew Company.
Yeah.
Order the hot dog. And I think the key to it is the bread. And she told me.
Yeah, Bridget. Yeah.
Bridget told me they bake their own bread right there. And that best hot dog I think I've ever had.
This is high talk, man. This is,
Yeah.
Okay. No, they got a lot of compliment. They do a nice pizza. They do some burgers in there. They're trying to branch out. And Andy's been honest. He's been on this show a couple times. He goes, if you're going to serve a lot of beer, at some point people get hungry. He goes, don't let them leave. Just start making food in your brewery. That was the reason that they built a little kitchen into the facility and keep them there. Feed them. They'll stay happy. They'll have one more round, and that's how that goes. So I was glad you made it. Look, let's jump back to about a year ago at this time.
Yes.
And I want to talk to you about how this opportunity presents itself. Obviously, you can go into as much or as little detail on when it first arose. But, you know, you had been doing the TSN 1200 thing for a while. You jump over, you're now writing for The Athletic. And all of a sudden, and maybe you'll correct me if you think this is too strong, at times had a contentious relationship with the old regime, you know, in terms of whether you were being too hard on them with your coverage of them. But everything changes. Michael Andlauer comes in. They hire a new president, a new general manager. Turns out to be the same guy. New upper management. Everything is changing over. Take us as inside as you're prepared to on how this kind of comes about.
Yeah, and really I think it was a function of exactly what you mentioned, is that they were just making changes to every avenue of the organization. And that included marketing, that included communications, that included hockey, like every part of the organization. I think they took their time, and I think the hockey team was obviously the top priority, and that's why you saw changes made there relatively quickly. A general manager was replaced. DJ Smith was later replaced. Like they made the changes in all the parts of the organization, and then they started looking around at the other aspects of the organization and said, I think it's time for a change. And so really where it got to, I think, a place where I had a conversation with them was really at the draft in Vegas last year, where it really was, I think, a conversation with Michael Andlauer, and he indicated that they were potentially going to make a change. And here's the thing, and my contract with The Athletic was up at the end of August last summer. And I'll be blunt and say that if I had re-upped my contract in June or July with The Athletic, I would not have even entertained the conversation. But for whatever reason, and I had no reason to believe that my contract with The Athletic wouldn't have gotten done.
Sure.
It's just they had a bunch of people to re-sign, and they did get to me, but there was this little window, Matt, where they hadn't quite gotten me an offer yet. And I was not ever thinking about leaving because I loved The Athletic. I still love it. I loved everything about it. It was by far the best place I ever worked, by far.
And it was clear they had faith in you. Like it wasn't just the way I said that comes off very like I'm diminishing the role, but you weren't doing just beat writer stuff. They had you covering Hockey Canada, the scandal. Like you were doing big
stuff,
that's
features,
right. Yes.
Human interest stories.
Yeah.
I had a travel budget. I could go all over the world to tell stories. And like as a journalist in this current landscape, to have that type of freedom and stuff that you're writing is ending up in the New York Times, and like you're at the like it. You look around at the roster, and you're like, this is an all-star lineup, and you feel like really humbled to be teammates with all of these people, and you're just so I was never thinking about leaving until there was talk that hey, there might be an opportunity with the Senators, and I thought to myself, boy, like that would be a pretty I've never thought about doing it seriously, but. What if, I spent 23, 24 years as a reporter. I think I accomplished everything that I needed to. Maybe there is an opportunity. So had that conversation with Michael in Vegas, and
more tampering at the draft.
Well, yeah, draft tampering. No, but I think his message was, look, if you're serious about this, go home, think about it. Send me a proposal of what you think you could do with this position if we go down that path. And I did. And I think as I started to put that exercise together of, what would I do if I was in charge of a comms department of an NHL team, it suddenly got really exciting.
Right.
And so at that point, I had known that they had interviewed other candidates at that point. And so I understood, and I knew that they had conversations with other people. And so I was under no illusions that I was, a preferred candidate or the only candidate. And so I had an interview with, it was Cyril Leader and Steve Stais who interviewed me. And, we joked about, hey guys, I'm usually the one asking you, both of you questions, and now you get to ask me questions. And it was a really, really comfortable interview. I think it was more of a conversation. It wasn't like, one of those, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what's your biggest strength? And
Right.
what's your biggest weakness?
I work too hard.
Yeah. Some people tell me I care too much. No, like, it wasn't that. It was a conversation about where do you see the media? Where do you see the landscape? Where do you see the team? And, and everything. And it was a really great conversation. And I kid you not, about a few days after that, I can't even remember the timeline. Cyril Leader phones me and said, "Hey, listen, we'd like to offer you the job." And it's like when it rains, it pours. That exact same day, my inbox lights up and it's The Athletic with, "Hey, here's your 3-year contract offer." It was impeccable timing.
Yeah.
And I had a decision to make, and I chatted with my wife, and I think, it came down to, for me, I think I had done everything I had set out to do as a reporter. This was just a unique opportunity. I'm like, I'm not sure I can pass up the opportunity to go into kind of a really meaningful role with an NHL team, and an NHL team that I care about the community so much that I'm going to be emotionally invested. It's not like the St. Louis Blues came to me and said, "Hey, Ian, we'd like you to run the comms department." I don't know why I just picked the Blues. I'm just trying to pick a random team, and I don't know that I would have been interested.
Sure,
because I'm not sure that necessarily interested me, but like being on this side of the fence and helping maybe grow the game and grow the Senators brand and that suddenly seemed really appealing, and so just sort of made the decision. And the only tough thing was the phone call I had to tell The Athletic I was leaving is one of the toughest phone calls I've ever had to make to my editor, and I kind of did. I did kind of. No, that wasn't Myrtle. Okay. Myrtle was my boss basically, but not my. I phoned my editor.
Okay,
and she was in Vancouver, and it was a tough phone call. Like, I choked up because I think as I said the words that I'm leaving, it kind of all came crashing down. And I was not excited to make that call. I wasn't excited to tell them because I loved it. I still loved it. Like, I think the world of The Athletic and the way that they conduct themselves and all the reporters there. Like, I think they are the gold standard in sports reporting in the year 2025. So it was certainly tough to say goodbye.
You know the way things go around here. We bounce around. There's tangents. There's whatever. So I'm going to jump off here and we'll come back to you in a second. But there's a long break in between when we learn you have joined the Sens and when The Athletic announces a new Sens reporter.
Yes.
And there are moments there, on social media where Sens fans, like it's getting really close and Sens fans are getting upset. Are we being phased out? Are we not going to even get a replacement? Maybe someone somewhere else will also occasionally cover any big Sens story. And then we hear that Julian McKenzie is coming from Calgary to Ottawa. A guy who, he's been in here a couple of times, a super likable guy, an easy to get along with guy. Do you have, as part of your exit interview with The Athletic or letting them know any insight? Because you were co-hosting podcasts with
Julian.
him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you give him a bit of a boost? Is it more when he gets here, you can kind of help show him the ropes? Like, do you have any role in sort of suggesting that maybe he would be the guy?
Yeah, and he could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like there was a window of time before we kind of publicly announced at The Athletic that I was leaving, or, I'm pretty sure I went to him and said, like, "Hey, look, I'm leaving, and I think you'd be a good fit here." And I did tell my editor, like, he would be a good fit here.
For him, it's much closer to home.
Because and that's why I told him, look, it's closer to home, and I obviously didn't have any say in who was going to potentially come in and replace me, but I wanted someone to come in because I felt really strongly, selfishly, that I had really built something up with the Athletic brand in this market, and I would have been really disappointed and hurt if the 4.5 years I put in of sweat equity and really building up a great loyal readership and community here, to have that evaporate because I decided to leave would have been tough. And so then to see Julian, take over the beat, have some great engagement with the fans, great engagement with his readers, be very connected to the team. And it's a tough thing. And it's not that he's coming in to fill my shoes, which
Well, they were big shoes.
No, and
But they
whether
were.
people say they're big shoes or not, it is one of the hardest things I can imagine would be like being parachuted into another beat where you have no
Right.
connection to the players.
And he had just done it in Calgary.
He had just done it in Calgary.
Do I want to do it again?
Yeah, but it's hard. Like,
It is.
again, I'll use the St. Louis Blues as an example.
Sure.
If you just told me tomorrow, hey, Ian, you're going to cover the Blues, I'd have been like, okay, great, but I don't have any connection to
Yes.
the players, the fans, and I think what's really important when you're a reporter, it's the history of the franchise. It's the context.
Sure.
And it's hard, and that's the toughest thing for somebody like Julian to come into a brand new market. He's like, he doesn't really know the scars of 2018
Sure.
and the playoff losses and different things that have sort of scarred the fan base. He hasn't lived through them, and he doesn't know them. So it
Just
takes
names
time.
like NHL names. Again, nobody needs to take strays or drop, but like a Ron Tugnut. It's just a guy in the NHL's
Right.
long history. A hell of a year. Like he's a well-known guy in Ottawa, right? He played well for the Senators. Like I don't know why I picked Ron Tugnut, but yeah, he doesn't know that that's a name here, right? Like maybe he doesn't know the Dominic Hasek story here, which was just an anniversary of that signing not too long ago.
10-year anniversary.
20, I think. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 20-year anniversary. Yeah,
yeah.
2005. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm saying 10.
But yeah, no, but yeah,
like
it's
it-
tough to parachute in like that.
It is, but at the same time, I have felt, and this is part of the reason why I also felt, I guess, empowered to leave, or I felt like I did the job, Matt, for 23 years. Sportsnet, TSN 1200, The Athletic, and I'm always a believer in new voices are good. Good for a beat. It's good for a city. It's good for a community.
Sure.
And I really felt like my time, I wanted to leave when I was at the top of my game. And I also wanted to leave space for somebody like others to come in. And I think what's really exciting about this market now, as you look at it versus maybe where it was 4 or 5 years ago, you got Julian McKenzie. You got Claire Hanna.
Yep.
You've got Graham Nichols, who's coming. Like, these are people, and that's just top of my head, who 4 years ago, 5 years ago, they didn't cover the Senators. And so it's really important that there's turnover in a good way. That there's some great storytellers that are standing there waiting in the wings for an opportunity. And the only way they get those opportunities, unfortunately, is when older journalists step aside. And I left because there was a great opportunity.
Sure.
But part of it was, hey, I'm excited to see what this next generation of reporters can do, because I felt like I tried my best for 23 years. I do think I did my job with the fans' interest at heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, if people like my reporting, it's because I think they always said, like, that guy cared about us. And that's what I think you should do as a reporter, is you should be accountable to your listeners, your readers, your audience, your fans. And I think I did that, and I'm excited because I think that those 4 people that I mentioned are all great storytellers, and I think they all have that same approach where I think they care about their audience. Claire cares about her audience. Julian and Graham Nichols care about their readers. And I think when you have reporters who do that, it's a good thing for the market.
And it's interesting because just watching, as a guy who's kind of a nerd for this kind of thing, they all take their own sort of approach to it, right? Like Graham Nichols, on top of the writing that he's always done and is now doing some for the Hockey News, he's found a spot over at Coming in Hot, right? Claire Hanna, all kinds of little videos that end up on Instagram from practice or on Twitter or whatever. Even at the trade deadline, here's the snacks I've brought today. Like, just little things that kind of help give you a personality to the community. I like different things. Julian McKenzie is always asking on X for suggestions for different questions to ask or things like that. They all have their kind of different approaches to it. I think it's fascinating to see this sort of new wave or this turnover all at once as you step into this role. And there's a couple different things about the early days of it I'm curious to get your take on, but it becomes very clear very quickly that you're going to be open-minded to younger people trying to get a foot in the door, whether it be bloggers, whether it be podcasters, new media, as we quite douchily like to call it.
Yeah.
Douchily is a word we, I guess, are going to use today.
Douchely.
Douchily.
I want to see that at the ESPN spelling bee.
You're not
Can
gonna.
you use that in a sentence, please?
Just the TCA one.
Yeah.
And that happens after 3 or 4 beers, and it's not pretty. I'm curious, when you come in, and maybe, you'll tell us if you're willing to go there or not, but like as part of your proposal, when you're talking to Michael Landlauer, is that part of your, like, going in, I'd like to open this up a little more and be a little more willing to not just have, and no criticism to these people, but like not just the Sun or the Citizen and TSN 1200, but let's see what some of these other people that are doing the job around the market in new ways, can contribute and welcome them in. Is that part of your very early pitch?
Yeah, I think you have to, like, part of the pitch overall and the vision is understanding that traditional media isn't what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And, if you go back to Matt, when I first broke in the early 2000s and I worked for Sportsnet, I would go into every day I could potentially go into a scrum and I could look to my left and right and I would see Brent Wallace with TSN and Patricia Bowl with The Score and Terry Marcotte or Carolyn Waldo or Corey Ginther from CTV News or CGOH, I think at the time. Dan Sagan or Moby Chaudhry from CBC. And then you'd look over at the Ottawa Citizen and you'd see, wow, Ken Warren, Alan Panzeri, Wayne Scanlon.
Sure.
The Sun had Bruce Garriock, Don Brennan, Chris Stevenson. Le Droit had Sylvain Saint Laurent and Martin Comtois and Marc Broussard and like every outlet. And that's just off the top of my head.
Sure, yeah.
And there was the new RO with Ken Avrere and Leanne Lang.
New RO.
And
wow.
like just go down the list.
Yeah.
And you're just jammed with media. And now you go into a Senators practice, and there are days where we'll have 3 reporters at practice. Right. Let's say it'll be Bruce, it'll be Alex, and it'll be
maybe Claire's on the CFL that week.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
and Kyle Bukauskas might be away.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just Bruce, and it's Alex, and maybe it's Julian, and that's it.
Yeah.
And there's no cameras, and it's a vastly different landscape, and so. Part of it is you have to understand, like, how do you, and you can't just let everybody in who has a podcast or a blog.
TCA
So I'm going to go ahead and just deny your credentials right now, Matt.
So, because I've made a big deal.
Whenever the Leafs come to town,
I know,
it's a no-go.
I've made a big deal out of this, or a couple times, that you've welcomed these people in, and one of the first replies I got from some wise ass was, I see TCA's never gotten in.
Well,
I said,
we can change that.
I said he did let me in. I showed up at the door in my Leaf jersey and he had security rough me up.
Well,
I ended out back in a dumpster underneath
we can have
it.
you come in as a pro, like, again, maybe when we host the St. Louis Blues, again, I pick a random team.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to come in and enjoy a night in the press box?
Yeah.
Have at it.
I ended up out back underneath a giant half Nordiques, half Sens jersey.
Oh, see, you didn't say you were going to go there. No, but like, I think part of it is you got to open it up a little bit. You can't open it up to everybody, but like, I'm trying to think of what would be a good example. Well, Brent Wallace's podcast would be a great example of, I don't believe he had the ability to have accreditation. And the way we looked at it is, Brent
reputable guy?
Sorry, he's a reputable guy.
Reputable
it's the
reporter.
First time I've heard
reporter. I don't know if he's a reputable guy.
No, but
I should point out to the listener, Lisa Wallace will be here on the show coming up in the next coming weeks.
You're looking for a credible member of the family. It would be Lisa. But Brent is somebody who covered this team from like the late 90s into 2021, and when he did it, again, I think did it with a high degree of proficiency, had a large following, and certainly in the final, I'll say 5 years that he was there, really, I think, tried to go to bat for the fans, asking sometimes tough questions that maybe anyway,
not everybody wanted to answer.
But I'll say like he's a great example of. Okay, well, he's got a show that has a following.
Yep.
He's got a following.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we should open it up.
He's got a reputation that says he's not going to be an idiot in the press box like Matt might be.
No. And so I don't think that was a tough conversation or discussion amongst us. Are we going to give him accreditation? But you have to be a little bit more open and flexible on that. And in particular too, like, and I've been really fortunate. I've been able to teach at Carleton for 3 years in a row, and I'll be able to do it again this fall. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about having my new job with the Senators this year was I got to take my class, which is about 20 to 22 students. I can't remember the exact number. I think I had 20 this last year. And we broke them up into groups of 4. And on 4 or 5 nights, they all came to the press box and they all watched the game. And for me, that was one of the coolest things, is being able to help young reporters who might have a vision or a dream of covering an NHL game, like come and experience it in the press box, because
This is what professionals look like.
this is what, this is how a press box operates. This is how press conferences operate.
And Creech out of the way to get to the popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. and like it's really neat to be able to see their eyes light up. So to have that ability to try and inspire that very next generation of, these are young students who are, oftentimes 21 years old in 4th year at Carleton, and get them to come out of it saying, boy, I really do want to be a sports reporter. Like that night at the Canadian Tire Center, it fed my appetite, my hunger for this. That's been really exciting. I think there is absolutely an obligation, and I think this is where we miss the mark in the media. And I don't blame a lot of mainstream media people, because a lot of mainstream media people, you're so focused on, I just want to hang on to my job. I just want to keep my job. The industry's shrinking, and I'm in protective mode. And I understand that.
Course.
But there should be an obligation from all of us to open the door to the next generation, and not look at them as threats, but look at them as the next generation that's going to carry on the tradition of holding teams and leagues to a degree of accountability, to storytelling. And if we don't open the door for them, and I felt like, and I think if you talk to a lot of young reporters, they'll tell you, whether I was with Sportsnet, 1200, The Athletic, I tried to do that.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like it's so important that you be a role model for young people. So then now to be on this side of the fence, and then you can kind of be a role model in a different way, but open the door, give them an experience in the press box, give them a chance to come and see a game. That's the way I think I can contribute in that realm now.
Well, this is it, right? Like, it's recognizing who's doing what and what might be out there. Like, our show is what it is, right? Like, we talk to Chris Hoffley about this on the show all the time. And he's always said, if you wanted it, no, he's not really in a position to do so anymore. If you wanted to come to a Red Blacks game and do something in the press box, but that's not really what we do. What was the benefit for this type of talk show to be in a press box? Does it change anything? Does it help anything? But I knew I could make that call, right? And so that's what I said to whoever was busting on me at the time, that, we hadn't been part of that wave or whatever. I said, first of all, I'm not young. I am not the next generation of anything. I'm already a past generation of it. But I said, I believe if there was a reason, if there was something fun we were doing on the show that I could call Ian and we could talk about it. But beyond that, to be there 41, I don't want to do it. There's no need to do it for what we're trying to do. But for somebody who's trying to break in and become a writer or become a broadcaster, that door needs to be open. And if you abuse it, then you don't get to stay and whatever else. But I think there are more and more sports franchises out there that are understanding their fans are following the team in different ways than they used to. It's not just the 6:30 Sports Center and whatever else, and that still has value, certainly. But maybe I'm listening to Locked On Sens or Coming in Hot or whatever it might be, and it would be valuable to have those people in the building and to get our message out through that outlet now.
Yeah, Locked On is a great example of two guys who really built something from scratch and did so during the pandemic, which might have been the hardest time to try and gain an audience and gain traction, but they did that, and they have a huge following. And we as an organization would be very short-sighted to not engage with them.
Sure.
And one of my favorite moments this year is we set something up with them where they got some time with Timmy Stutzla.
Yeah.
And they got to come and set up their recording stuff, their gear at the rink. And we brought Timmy by, and he dropped by their little studio that we had at the rink. what a great moment for a couple of reasons. One, you're putting Tim on a platform that, he's talking directly to Ottawa fans.
Right.
But you're acknowledging their existence as a significant voice.
Yes.
And that's important. The significant voices now, and what I always try and say is there's always been enough room in the sandbox for all of us. I hate media markets where there's only one or two voices that matter. That's not good.
No.
I think 7, 8, 10, 12 voices that matter is what the fans want. And they love Ross. They love Brandon. They love Wally. They love Yorkie.
Right.
And Graham Nichols is part of that now.
Yeah.
They love the 1200 group. Lloydie and JR in the morning and AJ and Creech and whoever the combination is in the afternoon.
Yep.
And that's just on the audio side. And there's lots of other podcasts that
There's writing. There's YouTubers. There's
enough room. And what I really hope for, if I can blue sky this for a moment, I think one of the biggest challenges with mainstream media was in the past. This is before the Sun and Post Media had that sort of merger. But like if you work for the Ottawa Sun, you couldn't collaborate with somebody who worked with the Citizen. Yeah. And if you worked at Sportsnet, you couldn't work with somebody who worked at TSN. And I think one of the great avenues now for these independent podcasters and networks is, gang, you have the ability to collaborate. And instead of viewing each other as the enemy, you should collaborate. And you should think about ways that, hey, I should join your podcast and vice versa and come and have some fun, and you'll only grow your audience.
Yeah.
There's no more artificial Bell Rogers lines here that you have to abide by. And I'll tell you, one of the things I love the most about being at The Athletic is I had complete freedom to, if the Fan 590 in Toronto was like, hey, Ian, can you come on talk Senators? Yes. I could do it. And then the next morning, TSN 1050 would say, like, hey, do you mind joining Koliakovo and company in the morning? And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I could join Sportsnet. I could join TSN. I could join CBC. It was great.
Yeah, these protected backyards don't exist at The Athletic.
No. And so, to me, if I was an independent entity, I would try to be collaborating with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the freedom I think that a lot of them have.
Well, I wanted to do something just because I thought it was, and actually you were the guy who helped me put this together and make contact, was to get Kyle Bukauskas and Claire Hanna in here together, kind of this next wave, younger reporters, whatever.
Yeah.
And just by chance, I was on 1200 a couple of days beforehand. They had asked me to come on, probably to gloat about the Leafs being eliminated or something. I can't remember exactly what the circumstances were. But Creech kind of said, what's coming up on the show? Tee it up, get it out there. And I said, well, we're having from the Bell side, Claire Hanna on, and I don't know if I'm allowed to. And he goes, go ahead. And I said, Kyle Bukauskas. And we got a bunch of listeners and a few different replies that week saying, man, that's kind of fun. Like, these are artificial lines, but here's the TSN, here's the Sportsnet, and now Creech also texted me a couple days later. He'd been told, hey, don't do that again. But, we can do that. Like, we don't have to abide by these lines.
There's no reason why you can't.
Right. So that was I want to ask you one more thing before we take a break here.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the idea of, you've been doing the reporter side of this for a long time. When you walk in on day one, obviously you know what the job of comms guy is supposed to entail. Is there anything that caught you off guard in that moment? That, I hadn't even thought that was going to be on my plate, or that was part of this.
You know what the biggest kind of shock has been to me 1 year in? It's the number of meetings I'm in. And I wish people could just see my calendar.
This meeting could have been an email.
This meeting could have been an email. I should have a T-shirt that says that. But really, like you would look at my calendar, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to open it up to today. What's today? Thursday.
And this is July. Okay, this is not the meat of hockey season.
Okay, so I will tell you, this is what I had today.
Yeah,
I had a 9 o'clock. I had a 9:30. I had a 10. I had an 11:30. I had a 1:30. I had a 2:30. I had a 3 o'clock and a 3:15. And
And then
that
4
sounds like a
o'clock
train. I said
nuisance.
to somebody, like, this sounds like a train schedule.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, there's a 9, a 9:30, a 10. We'll fast forward to Friday tomorrow. Quieter day.
Yeah.
10 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 2 p.m.
That's the quiet day.
But it's nonstop. And so when you come from a background like I have as a reporter, especially at Sportsnet and The Athletic, where I was basically a bureau guy.
Sure.
I'm a lone wolf. I don't have coworkers. I don't have meetings. I don't have to be anywhere.
Right.
I can work from home. I just go in to cover practice. I go home. If I want to go, if let's say with The Athletic or Sportsnet, if I went golfing on a Thursday in July, nobody has to know. And if they need to get a hold of me, they'll send me a text and I can answer. With this job, if I'm not in my office, people are like, hey, where's Ian? Hey, what's going on? So that's been a huge
You're the George Costanza
Adjust-
sleeping under your desk,
set up a bed down there. Yeah. And
leaving your car in the parking lot permanently.
Yeah. And so that's been the biggest adjustment, honestly, is having a calendar that everybody in the organization can see.
Yeah, here in Ottawa, you are The Athletic. If today The Athletic wants to be at practice, but tomorrow, they're on the road, I can be at this charity thing that maybe the organization has going. It's just you, and you work with you. And
Right.
you now, does that work with your schedule? You're busy at that
wild.
time. Yeah, okay. I could see that being irritating.
Yeah.
I don't like teamwork.
No, but I love
To no one's
but this is why I think I took the job, is I felt like I really wanted to be challenged, like really pushed to my outer limits of everything, and it's absolutely done that in the best possible way, because I do love working with. This is one thing I've realized after being a lone wolf, and like I said, Athletic, I was pretty much a lone wolf.
Yep.
Sportsnet, really alone. I had a camera person, but mostly I'm by myself. I think I love working more with people. I think I love having teammates. I think I love having a ton of teammates. I think I don't love meetings.
No.
But I do love human interaction on a daily basis, like I get. And that part I love. It's just the meetings. Can we cut down the meetings?
That was a meme again from, I don't know, 10 years ago now that I saw. That was, when you're starting out in your career, it's, oh, those guys are going to the meeting. I can't wait till I'm in all the important meetings. And then you become part of the important meetings. Like, I would do all the legal things and so many illegal things to get out of this meeting.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at.
We'll take a break here. We should probably actually get into what it was like working with the team while hockey was being played. So we'll do that in just a second. We'll take a break, and we'll be back.
I think it might be possible to add a little shelf, like for an alarm clock.
What about maybe that big?
I don't know, maybe like this.
Like that?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Great. This could sound crazy, but what do you think about adding a drawer for, like, a blanket?
Blanket or a quilt?
Blanket.
That thick?
Maybe like this.
Like that?
Yeah, like that.
That's what you want?
That's what I want.
Hey, George, you want this cup holder, you want it mounted on the left or the right or in the middle?
Whatever. This is unbelievable. This is better than my bed at home. All right. It's been a long night. You go home and get some sleep.
That's what you want?
That's what I want.
Morning, George.
Morning, Mr. Wilhelm.
All right, we're back in here. And listen, if you're here for the first time because you saw Ian's name, I don't blame you. And I hope you're willing to stick around. I hope we haven't pushed you away too far. But we are here every Monday. My co-host Rob and I, whatever's topical at the time. And it's hard in the summer, as Ian knows from his previous career.
Yes.
But this time of year, we'll find something to talk about. And then midweek, we got guests like Matt Scooby was just on the show doing his Ottawa exit interview, literally 2 days before he left town. Headed down
Ottawa
to Toronto.
exit interview.
That's what we were calling it. He was a little hesitant to use that title, but he was a good sport about it. And frankly, because you know this, Ian, there's been far too many people who've come in here to do their exit interview under far worse circumstances.
Yeah,
and we were sort of getting this morbid reputation of like where you go when you've been let go. That was not Matt Scooby. He's moving on to newer things
By
down
choice.
in Toronto. Yeah. So that was fun. As I mentioned a little while ago, Lisa Wallace was here. We got, or is going to be here again as we play fast and loose with the timeline. We've got great guests coming. Actually, Michaela Schreider back in here. She's a regular. We're going to get Julian McKenzie back on the show. Joshua O'Connor, a name not as many people are familiar with, but you should be. With what the work he did on Behind the R for OSEG was incredible. He's now started up his own kind of, what would you call it? Like an advisory or a helping other people get their brands up and running called Create or Die. It's fantastic. You can follow them on social. All of it this summer here on the podcast. Plus our usual friends from around the Athletic and TSN 1200. So get subscribed if you're not already. We appreciate Ian bringing you here.
Yeah.
You may be mad at him for it, but that's okay. We'll look. When you start, I want to touch on a couple of points that happened throughout the season. I want to start on something that I don't think anybody really expected would be in your territory. But very early on, there are a lot of fans on social media going, I don't know what is happening with the geo-blocking or the...
Oh, yeah.
I can't get my Sens game, right? I can't...
Yeah.
And so I don't think traditionally that's the issue or the purview of the comms guy. But you reached out to the fans and said, hey, reply to me here. Let me know where you are, kind of what's going on for you. And look, it sounds silly. I'm having the opposite issue as a Leaf fan. Their territory is messed up. I'm out of Toronto's market. You should be giving me this game in Ottawa, and you're not. But at the same time, I'm trying to watch online Sens games for the sake of this show, and it's not working out. When does that land on your radar? How do you decide this is my responsibility and start reaching out to fans? And it sounds like you were directly involved with resolving it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's resolved to everybody's satisfaction, which is disappointing, but also a reminder that we're going to keep going at this. I think where it kind of got onto my radar was I try really hard, and whether it's myself, somebody else on the comms team, we'll try and scour like Reddit, for example, on a very regular basis. Sometimes it's
That guy deserves hazard pay.
well, it's but it's a great tool outside of X and some of the other platforms that you could
100%.
Yeah, it's a great place to go. And I noticed there was a post really early in the year saying like, hey, like I live in wherever it was, Gloucester, Orleans, and I'm not getting the games. And like 7 or 8 people are like, yeah, this happened to me too. And I thought, okay, that's weird.
Yes.
That must be an aberration, something weird. And as we got the season going on, I saw the chatter picking up, and the odd person would tag me on X.
And anybody who's not familiar, this is online. If you have cable, you get it. You would. But there's weird things that happen online, and they draw the lines in weird places. So, you can't stream the game.
So I think the tipping point was I posted, hey, Sens fans, who's dealing with this and what? And I mean, it was 500 replies.
Yeah.
If you go back, it was 500 replies. Mm-hmm. And they're all like, hey, I live in Canada. I live in Stittsville. We had one person saying, I step out of my door, I can almost see Canadian Tire Center. Can't get the game.
I'm not local enough.
And you got to be on this side of Huntmar to get the game. And so I was trying to get some answers. And Cyril Leader, our president and CEO, was really on top of this too. He's making calls. He's making connections to his contacts at TSN and Bell Media. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. And the easiest way I can describe this, Matt, and still we sit here in the summer of 2025, and I maintain it has not been resolved our level of satisfaction, which, I mean, for me, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm not really going to rest until every Ottawa fan who lives in our viewing region has an untethered look at our game.
Right.
Like that's not a crazy.
This should be a slam dunk.
It's not a crazy ask.
No,
but
I live in Ottawa. Can I watch the local team?
So here's the like kind of layperson's explanation of this, which I hope isn't. I hope it makes sense, but I think you'll also have questions that I'm not sure I can answer. But let's say you live in the PN. Okay, so you're in Ottawa, and I'm just randomly picking that you have Bell as your internet provider. Okay, because this is not just a Bell problem; it's a Virgin, Rogers, Bell, Cogeco, whoever's your internet, your ISP provider.
So, and just to add to the context here, as a Leaf fan in Ottawa, I pay Sportsnet Plus prices because I'm in Ottawa's region, right? So, okay, you're telling me I'm currently in the Toronto region, so that's why I can't watch the Leaf game. Okay, can I watch the Sens? No, because you're in the Ottawa. Wait, like both of those can't be true,
right? One has to be. So the easiest way to explain this from what the research we've done is this is traced back to your ISP, your internet service provider. Okay, and you have an IP address that is assigned to you by your provider.
Yep.
And the problem is in Ottawa, some people who live in Ottawa, their ISP is actually tied to other parts of Ontario. So it will read that you live in Kitchener, that you live in Windsor, that you live in the Sioux. Well, the Sioux is not a good example because they wouldn't have a huge hub there. But like, there's ISP hubs.
Mine
I guess
always pops up, even right here in Nepean. It says I'm in Toronto,
right?
And I'm very not in Toronto,
right? And that's the problem. Is that then people will say they go to watch the game, and a lot of people now they don't use traditional cable. You use your internet to connect to your cable. So then you go to TSN, and they're like, "Sorry, game's not in your region." You're like, "What are you talking about? I'm on Baseline and I'm on Baseline and Clyde, or
stops
whatever,
3 blocks from here."
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, so what do we do about this? And so the problem is, and I don't blame TSN because it's not really their fault. They're like, well, what do you want us to do? We're the game is being distributed where it should be. If it's getting blocked, it's on the internet service provider to. So what we've told fans to do,
which is frustrating for fans because to them, TSN is Bell, which is their internet provider, and you are one of
and
the
it's
same.
a yes and no. But if it was just like, so we were trying to like, what's the word here? I guess like kind of like hyper localize this. Like, was this just a Rogers internet problem? And I'm telling you, it was like every possible internet service provider that you can think of, they were having the problem. And so it would come back to us from people saying, you need to contact your internet service provider, tell them what's going on, and that they're able to do something. And I'm not a super technical guy on this stuff, but they're able to whitelist your IP address, which is essentially it won't read as Kitchener Waterloo anymore. And then you can get your game.
But that can't possibly, when you are stepping into this job, have been, this is what I'll be doing in the first month of the season. No. Why do you take that on?
Because I think anything that falls into the realm or the bucket of fan, viewer, audience dissatisfaction should be on my radar. And
comms isn't just to the media, it's to the fan base.
No, right. And I don't think I took this job just to do media relations. I did this job to make this the best possible experience for our fans. And if you're telling me you live in Carleton Place, you can't watch our game, that's a me problem. That's not a you problem. That's a me problem. Like that has to be on me. And so it was really rewarding when a bunch of people would say, hey, your advice helped.
All right.
It helped. The issue's resolved. But there's lots of people out there that still are dealing with it, and I'm going to deal with it again in September. And I won't stop being super proactive about it. And, I think where it was really hammered home of where the problem was, people would say, okay, well, I'm trying to watch the game on my internet service provider. Doesn't work, saying you're out of the region. But I have the app on my phone, like the Bell app, Bell 5 TV app. When I'm hooked into the network, like just the data network for the cell, I can watch the game.
Right.
Why? Because the data is picking up that you're in Ottawa.
Tower rated. Ian will forget. I pointed wildly. Like that will help you, listener.
The
right?
tower.
It's the tower up there. That's the one.
So I think there's got to be a way to solve the problem. And if it turns out that we have to go one by one for every fan has to try, then I'm happy to. No, I'm not happy, but I will. I will listen to everybody and try and tell them individually what you need to do. And we got to find workaround solutions.
Yeah,
because and
this
again,
is where we're going. It's online. This is where people watch now. Not necessarily in crazy ways. I just buy my TSN monthly subscription. That should work. I'm not putting any blame on the internet provider or the networks or anything. All I think. I hope everybody can agree with the next statement I'm going to utter, which is in the year 2025, watching your favorite professional sports team play games in your own market should be the most frictionless experience that you have. The internet tracks you all the time. It knows what you want, and the ads. It's what you. But when I want to watch my game, you suddenly don't know where I am. Come on.
And for me. I go back to the day. I grew up in Vancouver back in the 90s, and you're watching big games, and I can't imagine when I was 17 years old, I would go to flip on some game, and they're like, this game's not available. I would go ballistic.
This is Channel 12. I'm supposed to get it on Channel 12.
Come on, I can't even fathom that. And I think that's the one thing we sometimes, whether we're in the media or we work for a team, we're in such a privileged spot because we get to watch games for free and we're at games. You forget what it's like to be a fan. And you have to, so I try to always remember what would the, 17, 18, 19-year-old version of me who loves sports more than anything, who wasn't in the industry, what would that guy think of what's going on? And I think I would be beside myself if my favorite game was locked out.
Sens Habs tonight. Come on, give it to me. I paid for this.
2025. We got to find a way. But again, I don't know who. Again, it's not about assigning blame.
No,
it's about there's got to be a solution.
There's a tech hiccup here somewhere that has to be solved. But we have to find it.
But I find it interesting that I don't think that this problem exists for Leafs fans in Toronto. I don't think there's Toronto fans who live in Newmarket or Hamilton or Oakville that are going to watch a Leafs game. Because I'll say this, if that happened in Toronto, there would be a solution. So, if thousands of Leafs fans were locked out of a Toronto game, something would be done.
Yep.
Thousands of Ottawa fans get locked out of a game. It's we'll get to
figure it out.
that, and that's why we have to bang the drum as an organization because we have to, and we understand. I understand it. It's not. That's not. I hope that doesn't come as sour. I understand. We're not the Leafs. We're not the Dallas Cowboys. We're not the New York Knicks. We're not the Lakers. I get that. But part of that is that means you as an employee, you got to go the extra mile.
And in so many cases, I'm only still subscribed to TSN or whatever because I'm watching live sports.
That's all they
now
want.
My live sports aren't working. I get that frustration.
Yeah,
certainly.
and especially in this age where, again, you feel like everything should be so simple, a la carte. I just want the Sens games. I just want the Leafs games. I just want the Flames game. That's all I want. I bet you if there's people that said, if I could just pay $5 a game, just give me the game. That's it. I don't want
today, as you and I are recording, Ian, I got a message, again, because I'm on Sportsnet Plus, which gives me what used to be NHL Center Ice, right? All the so that's why I have it. And I want to be able to watch what I want to watch. Now, those are regionally blacked out when I want to watch the Sens game here in Ottawa, but I also have TSN, so I can watch the local feed. But I got an email today that's going up to $329. I'm like,
okay, that's $329 for the season,
right? But
okay,
but that's not enough. That does not get me every Leaf game.
It doesn't?
No, because sometimes here they play the Habs. And the Habs have regional rights, and so I get blocked out on my Sportsnet Plus.
Okay, but but hang on. But then you should be able to watch that Leafs
in
Habs
French?
game on TSN too.
Right. But
in English.
Right. But all I'm saying is, can we just cut the crap where I need two different services? I'll pay whatever you just said, $5 a game times 82 games. Is that obnoxious? Yes. Will I do it?
I guess that's
Probably.
around the same price point.
Right. So that's all I'm saying is I'll just charge me whatever you have to charge me, but enough with the blackouts in 2025, enough with the regions in 2025. Name a number and I'll decide then. Do I need every game or don't I?
Yeah.
And that's the part that's, I think, upsets people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it, right? Like, I
you
think
do,
especially if you are, what would be a good example?
And
Like Sunday
Leaf guy
ticket.
in Ottawa is not the sympathetic figure. Ottawa fans should not have to have two different.
No.
This game's on CBC. This one's on Sportsnet in the afternoon on a Saturday. The TSN ones
Well,
are in the. Just
I'll tell you
me
something
what you
that-
want from me.
I'll tell you something that Leafs fans certainly don't deal with, that Ottawa fans do, is a lot of our games on a Saturday could get put on Sportsnet 1, which is not like a
normal
standard
show, no.
kind of everybody. Not everybody has Sportsnet 1. A lot of people have Sportsnet, the 4, East, West, Pacific, all that.
Yep.
A
Ontario.
lot of people might have, but they don't always have Sportsnet
Nope.
1. So
That's an
sometimes,
above cost.
we'll be like, hey, Ottawa at New Jersey on a Saturday. It's a Sportsnet 1 game. And people who have just been frozen out of a regional game on Thursday because of the
Hockey
blackout.
night. What are you doing? Yeah.
I know.
I get it.
So it's tough.
So let me take you maybe just a month or so forward, and maybe this is nothing, and this is why I want to ask you the question. But there has been a bit of it's been real in previous years, a tough November.
Yes.
And there was a moment this season where it looked like we might be headed to another tough November. Now, this doesn't turn out to be anywhere close to previous past Novembers, but you have talked to fans. You have covered this team for a long time.
Yeah.
It does look like, is it going to happen again? Inside the organization, is that just noise? Like, months don't matter. Like, timing doesn't matter. Slides matter. Like, fans get concerned about that, and organizations get to be concerned about that. But when it looks like this might be happening again and they pull the nose up, it doesn't get into that full. Levy Merlainen comes in. I guess that's a little bit later into December and steadies the ship. Is that stuff discussed inside the organization that, like, are we about to have a bad November? Or is it more, how do we convince people that November itself is just random, like, it's not a timing issue?
Well, it turned out that this year in November, there was like and I don't have the schedule in front of me, there was like a murderer's row of, like, we played Vegas and Edmonton and like a bunch of teams that are like, they're really good, like they're elite cup contending teams. And we just didn't get it done, right? Sure. And so I understood the whole time as we took a dip in November, I put myself in the shoes of a reporter. I'm like, I'd probably write the story of here we go again.
Another November.
Yeah. And I think we did a media availability with Steve Stais in the middle of November. It would have been around the 20-game mark of the season. And we talked to Steve about, I think it's a good time, Steve, to get out and meet the media. And we weren't doing great. We were... at that point we hadn't lost 5 in a row, but we had lost maybe 2 or 3. Like, things were, and Steve was great, and I think he really pointed to.
Now, the cynical fan would say, send out the office guy to take some bullets for a team that maybe is sliding a little. Is that unfair? Is that
no? But I think it gets to a point sometimes where if you, let's say you're in a 4 or 5 or 6 game losing streak, or you've won 2 of 8 or something. Yeah. Like, what are you going to ask Tim Stützle and Travis Green and
How does
Thomas
it feel
Chabot?
to be struggling? It doesn't feel good, man.
What are you going to
want me
ask them today that you didn't ask them?
Yeah.
And it gets repetitive and tiresome for the reporter. It gets repetitive and tiresome for the coach and the player.
Yep.
And the odd time it's important you sprinkle in a different voice.
Sure.
And in our case, that different voice is Steve Stais.
Yep.
And Steve has the most steady, calm persona in a press conference. And I don't mind peeling back the curtain a little bit here. Is, we'll go through, before we do any press conference with Steve, we'll go through, hey, here's the questions we think you're going to get.
Yep.
And it is remarkable, Matt. Like, and Sylvain Saint Laurent, who I work with, and Aaron Campbell, who I work with in the PR department, we're all in the meeting and we chat about things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've really ever had to convince or direct Steve Stais in his messaging. I mean that. I like
He gives you an answer like, no, don't say that.
no,
Don't say that.
it's not that.
No,
it's he is so remarkably on point
Yeah.
and as truthful as he can be without, giving out all the state secrets. But we put him out there in November when we weren't doing great. Like, I think we had lost to, I want to say it was Philadelphia and somebody else, and we weren't doing great.
Mm-hmm.
But he came up and he was like, he pointed to some of the expected goal numbers and different things. And by the time we got to early December, there was lots of people, because we came back from another kind of not so great California trip, people saying, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And we just reeled off, I think, 7 wins in a row, and we
Right
were
back
off and
in the
running.
race. That's behind
off and
us.
running.
It's not. We're not talking about it anymore. Yeah. Not too far down the road from that. And I sort of threw an elbow about it in the first half, and you sort of rightfully pointed out that I didn't say this was going to come up. So you can give me as much or as little as you want to here. But I did tell a couple of listeners who asked, they were sort of curious about the Quebec City thing.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, Ian, as a guy who, for good and for bad, in moments like this, maybe more for bad, doesn't have, we talked earlier about, does Julian McKenzie being dropped in, there's maybe a thing he doesn't quite have a handle on, that this is a red button for the fan base or things like that. When I first saw the Sens talking about, there's going to be preseason games in Quebec, maybe a couple of regular season games in Quebec, I sort of rolled my eyes and went, I don't know how that's going to go over in this market. And then it blew up so big that I rolled my eyes in the other direction going, this is not quite what's being made of it. But I don't have those scars of other fan bases telling you you're moving to Quebec, you're going to lose your team, the things they had been through with previous ownerships and whatever else. I don't have the right handle on that, or the full emotional perspective on that. And it seemed to be the final straw, or the red button, was the split jersey. Maybe that was just the final. But I'm sort of curious. I'm sure you guys talked internally about this isn't going to be super popular everywhere. Like, maybe there'll be some pushback. Did it surprise you how much fans were hurt, annoyed, whatever term you would want to use, and how much pushback there was? Did that catch you off guard?
No, not at all. No. Like I don't think the fans' anger was necessarily misplaced. Like, again, you're picking at a scab.
Yeah.
Right? So you're mindful of that. I'll be honest, in the spirit of transparency, like, it wasn't something I was looped into. It's not like I knew that was happening.
Right.
And if it was, I would have said, like, I don't know that that's the best course of action here.
So comms wasn't involved in how that message is going to be put out there?
No. Okay. But that's not to say that should be on us, though, right?
Yeah.
Like that. So anyway, we get to that place where you put that out there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it doesn't land well. Mm-hmm. I think the irony is it landed very well in Quebec City. They thought it was cute and fun and a little bit.
Cute. That's an interesting word.
Right? I think they thought it was neat. Whatever. Okay. They thought it was neat.
That the team was coming, or that Ottawa was upset?
No, I thought you were talking just about Spartacat wearing...
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I think people thought it was harmless fun there.
Yes.
Not here. Here, people are like, hey, you don't ever mess with the jersey. That's just... That's sports 101.
But the whole thing, when it comes out that we're going to play some preseason games, just because it's close to home, my co-host Rob has said a couple times, I got no beef with preseason games in Quebec. I don't care. I sort of understand, grab some Francophone fans if we can. Don't love the idea of regular season games potentially being played there, but don't touch my jersey. And I sort of asked him a couple questions, and at some point he just was done talking about it, and he said to me, the Leafs playing any regular season games somewhere else this year? Can you ever imagine seeing the Leaf logo split in half and mixed with... To go back to your point a few minutes ago when we were talking about the cable thing, would Leaf fans tolerate, would Toronto tolerate not being able to watch their games? And at that point, okay, yeah, I get it. Don't touch my jersey. Don't touch my regular preseason games, whatever. But it was interesting from a sort of, I was going to say outsider, maybe that's the right term, a distant to watch. Like this got bigger than I thought it would. Even when I sort of went, this might not go over well, it went over less well even than I thought it would.
And so, again, I think people in Quebec City thought, hey, this is cool. The Senators are going to come play a couple of preseason games.
Yep.
Their mascots wearing our jersey as a split jersey. As
and the other thing Rob
nod.
did say to me, not to interrupt you once more, I'm sorry, but he said if at those games Spartak is wearing a full Nordiques jersey, fine. Like, embrace the market, like, have a little fun with it. Because don't split my jersey.
Right.
That's sort of his.
Anyway, clearly message delivered.
Yeah.
I think we listened. I think that afternoon we put Cyril Leader on.
Yes.
TSN 1200.
He was great that day. Like he really settled.
He tried to, and people were still mad. And then later that day he put out a tweet. We worked on kind of some messaging, and he put it out. And then what I thought was really important that maybe people don't realize is that week, obviously people were not happy. Yeah. Fans were irate. And I thought, let's make Michael Andlauer accessible to the local media.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't want to put him out in a press conference where, there's 5 or 6 cameras and they're, So we had something before a game in January. I think we were playing the Capitals or something in Ottawa. And before the game, 6 o'clock, we said, hey, Michael is going to be at the arena at this little lounge. We invited our regular core beat media, the group that, Bruce and, Julian.
Yeah, your everyday.
The people that are there every day and write about us 4 to 5 times a week. Mm-hmm. You come down. It's gonna start as an informal conversation, and then you're going to have a chance to ask some on the record things. And I think Michael really did a good job of explaining himself. There wasn't malice intended.
No.
We understood, why now it didn't.
It was a misstep, not an intentional slap.
No, Michael talked about, there's scars of a fan base, and we have to be, and I think that helped. And I think that's the type of sort of strategy we want, is that when there is a misstep, and there's going to be missteps, I don't think Ottawa fans are demanding perfection. They're just demanding that we're better.
Yeah.
Are you better today than you were 6 months ago?
Right.
In every facet of the organization. They're not demanding perfection. But just be better. And we need to every few months look at ourselves in the mirror. Hey, were we better than we were? And I will fully admit, we messed up that one. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to think the way we handled it was the right way.
There was accountability there.
We want to be transparent. We want to be accountable. And I thought Michael did a great job of explaining it in that conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's about trying to build some trust with your audience, right? And when every time you lose a little faith or trust with the fans, you have to work to get it back. Because if you do that 4, 5, 6 times, it eventually breaks, and there's no chance to repair it. Yeah. And that's the danger, is that the first time that there's a little bit
and as fans in this market, they've been through some things, right?
They've been through more than most fan bases. I won't say they've been through. It's tough. You roll up your
it's
sleeve.
Hard to
and
set a top 10 or
you want to roll up your sleeve and compare scars with a Buffalo fan or a Vancouver fan or
Blues fans, since they're taking the blowback.
That's right.
Today anyway.
Yeah, but
they got a cup.
So. Ottawa fans are they've just been through so much, and they just don't want to be reminded of what they've been through. That's all.
That's fair.
That's a simple ask.
Of course,
from them.
Yeah. The last thing, as the season sort of winds down, that I want to get to with you is, it becomes pretty clear. I don't know. You can, again, choose to take us as inside as you wish to. As the season is winding down, it's clear the Sens are going to make the playoffs. They have sort of removed themselves from this Columbus-Montreal sort of mix at the bottom. Who's going to get in? Ottawa steps ahead of that a little bit at some point in kind of March. And it's clear they're going to get in. And there's sort of this conversation about playing Toronto, which has its own history.
Yep.
And there's sort of this conversation that we've had on this show a couple of times. Montreal squeaks in as a pleasant surprise, but they go up the other side. They play Washington. There's no history there. And so, really nice feeling season. We got in, made the playoffs when not everybody expected us to, and we lost to the Eastern Conference winners. There's no real baggage there, right? It's a good year. Ottawa has a better year than Montreal, does finally get back into the playoffs, but has to play Toronto. And maybe there's some baggage that comes with that, given the history between the two teams. Is there anything that you guys are doing internally to prepare the team? Okay, can you start before you're mathematically in and to prepare these guys for what it's going to be like media-wise? My co-host here, Rob, made an interesting point that he thinks as the Sens move forward and become a team that starts making conference finals and hopefully cup finals, they've gotten an early taste of that type of media. When you go and play Toronto in a playoff series, there's a ton of media. And so while you're learning playoff hockey, you're also learning, ramped up coverage that maybe would resemble a conference final media coverage for any other team, but it's just Toronto being Toronto this time. What is that experience like? As you guys prepare for the playoffs, it becomes obvious you're going to get in, and then, okay, it's going to be Toronto, the history that comes with that, the media that comes with that, everything that goes into that part of it.
We definitely didn't do anything specific with our we would talk. I did talk to a couple of the guys about, hey, be prepared for the jungle. We're going into something different. And what you don't want to do is start planting seeds of it's going to be. And it was
so big.
It was big, but it wasn't insane.
No.
And we're lucky because we have some guys on our team, and I'll put the captain at the top of the list. I don't know how many times this season I asked Brady Tkachuk to do something and he said no. I don't know that it even happened.
Right.
I think this guy said yes
only to TCA
to almost everything. And so I remember there was a point in that series where I think we had an off day, and the league mandate is you still have to make some people available. And I went to Brady. I'm like, hey, it's gonna be a big one. Mm-hmm. Can you do this? He's like, yeah, of course, I'm in. And he went there, and it was like an 8-9 minute scrum, which is a little bit longer than probably we would have liked. And I look back, and maybe we should have said, hey guys, last question type of thing. But I think what was good for the group was, I think as the series, and you probably saw this as a fan, as the series went on, I truly felt like everybody around the team just felt more comfortable in the environment.
Yeah.
And
showed on the ice.
And I'm going to tell you this, and you can disagree with me. I tell you, when we tied that game up in Game 6, David Perron scores.
Yeah.
And I give Pacioretty a ton of credit. He gets the series winner.
Yeah.
And you can disagree with me. But I will go to my grave saying if we win Game 6, we're winning Game 7. And I think you know that. And I think you know
what happened to I can disagree with
what? But I think on some molecular level that's true.
I know that's when I get rattled. Because I tried to keep it steady, Ian, here, saying I always picked Toronto in 6. This was going to be a fight. This was... And yet, when it was tied in 6, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But not after 5. When they lost Game 5, I was like, nope, it's okay. Always said it was going to be 6. We're okay. But when Ottawa scores, they're in Game 6. Oh, we're going to do this now, are we? Right?
and I think that's the great and so when people say you had a good year, but you lost to the team that was your tormentor. Look, man, Brady Tkachuk and Timmy and Shabbat and the fans that are that same age, 25 and under, they don't know any of these demons and ghosts.
Travis Green and
they don't know.
I don't know why I picked that name. That's your coach now, but that was my go-to pain in the ass leaf.
They don't wear the baggage. They don't. You think Brady Tkachuk is rattled by Gary Roberts?
He's probably not.
He's not. And so I think the great thing is, if you look at the way that our team, when they left the ice in Game 6, the ovation they got from our crowd, cheering them off the ice.
Yep.
like if there's ever an example of that early 2000s stuff doesn't carry, like can you imagine the Ottawa Senators being cheered off the ice after losing the Leafs in like 2002 or 4? Never would have happened. But it's a new era.
Well, and like Rob said to me, talking to him, and so frankly did our mutual friend, I assume, Don in Barhaven. The Leaf thing didn't carry the sting he thought it would.
No.
It's been a long road back. The goal was make the playoffs and have a good showing. Did it? Does it suck that it's the Leafs? Yeah, it sucks.
Exactly,
that it's the Leafs,
but
it didn't really matter.
It didn't feel like the continuation of a movie franchise that like this is part 5.
Right.
It didn't. I'm not.
I agree with you.
And I'm saying that, and I know you're saying, well, this is the PR guy. This is of course you're going to say that, but it really didn't. And I think it was encapsulated by the way our team got cheered off the ice. Now, I'm also smart enough and experienced enough to know that type of visceral, emotional embrace of a team, it's a finite window. It's not like we can just turn around and let's say we play again in the playoffs this year.
And we can just coast.
And we lose in round 1. I'm not sure we get cheered off the ice again.
No.
Right? So we understand that, though, as
Do it
an
9 times,
organization.
Ian, and you'll see what happens in
the
Game 7 against Florida.
Yeah, the expectations are now rightfully raised.
Right, of course.
And I think everybody around the team loves that. Like, I do. I think there's not a single person who works in that organization that isn't excited that now, guess what? We have a bit of a target on our back from the Buffalo, Detroit, Columbus,
Montreal made some nice moves.
They all think we're coming to get you.
Yeah.
Like nobody in the East who missed the playoffs is saying we're going for Florida.
We're taking the Panthers down. No,
nobody's saying that. They're looking for the team, and we get it. We understand. But there's some good pressure with that. And I think the group is ready to respond. Because like I said, I really felt like after game 1 of that series, everybody locked in. And everybody kind of understood the assignment.
Yeah, because they did look a little discombobulated in game 1, right? It's my first playoff experience. Just a bunch of penalties, and the Toronto power play can hurt you in that situation, and did. I'm curious what your take was on game 4, where all the talk was coming home from Toronto after 2 games. How much will the infestation show itself in game 3? And Ottawa held that in check as well as I have seen in a very long time, right? It was overwhelmingly Ottawa in game 3. But now the series is 3-0, and it sort of felt like there was some people online that I follow and that I respect going, oh, you sold the farm, right? Like you're not buying us and coming out of it in game 4. And like Toronto did manage to get in the building a bit in game 4. By game 6, Sens fans had reclaimed the building again. How much of a conversation is that in the building in that series?
Yeah, and
in the organization.
There's 2 groups that deserve all the credit in the world, because I think it was a real talking point that Toronto fans were going to take over our building.
Yeah, it was.
And they just didn't.
No, they didn't.
Like game 3 and game 6 in particular, I'm going to say that building was 90% Ottawa fans in those 2 games. Yeah. And game 4, it was probably 80-20. 80-20.
We probably disagree on that one a little bit. I think it was a little more like 60-40, 70-30. We're nitpicking at this point. But Toronto, it felt like Ottawa fans for game 4 were like, I got one more chance to sell some.
I don't know. I really think it was maybe 80-20.
Okay. Well, you were in the building and I wasn't.
In particular, games 3 and 6, I think the credit goes to our senior VP of ticketing, is a guy named Brendan Duval. And, Brendan really worked hard and long, because you got to remember, it wasn't locked in that we were playing Toronto until about a week before. Yeah. And so you've got multiple strategies as you're going to sell tickets. Hey, if we're playing Tampa, there's this strategy.
Yes.
If we're playing Toronto, if we're playing Washington, they were playing Florida. There was a lot of strategies.
Sure.
But the Leafs present a unique beast in that there's an appetite that drives the ticket price up, but you want to, in the playoffs, it was very clear we needed some degree of home ice advantage. Yep. Now, we could have probably just taken the cap right off and just said, you know what, let's just take their money. Yep. Let's take the lead. And it would have been a 50-50 building.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't, and people noticed. And then So Brendan Duval deserves a ton of credit, and then the other group that deserves a ton of credit for that building being red and black
Yeah.
are the Ottawa fans.
Yes.
And in particular our season ticket holders, because we went to them, Matt, after we sold it. They had the first right crack at the tickets. We went back to them and said, okay, we got a couple more for you.
Yeah.
You've said for years you don't come to Toronto games because you're sick of the blue and white. This is now on you.
Yeah.
We're going to give you 2 or 4 more tickets per person. Will you sell them to Ottawa fans?
Right.
And Matt,
I know,
almost
yeah.
every single one of them
We
did.
got so much feedback on
And-
that saying I bought it from my brother-in-law,
And
who
I
I don't even speak to, but he wanted Ottawa fans.
And that's just it. And that's why I love our fans is that there was a real moment there where they could have sold us out. They could have.
Yeah.
They could have sold us out. But there's a trust that they built up with, and again, that's all Brendan Duval and his team and the work that he did, and we trusted them.
Yeah.
And
Game 3 and Game 6 especially stifling. And it was all Ottawa
It was
fans.
probably for me like one of the most rewarding things in the world was Game 6.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the crowd come in, and I went out to the front, and I tell you, I didn't see a Leafs jersey at one point. I thought, we did it.
Yeah.
Like for all that, you don't, like, when you're a Toronto fan,
Yeah.
and we get it. Like, we get it. You're the big sibling. We will always be the little sibling. You will always have extra history on us. You'll always have more.
Yeah, bad history, but history.
I know what it's like. I'm the youngest kid in my family, and you're never going to be the oldest one. You're never going to be the smartest one, but you have a chance to be the most authentic one.
Yeah.
And you have the chance to be you can carve out your own path. And the minute you understand that and appreciate, we will always be. It's like Brady Tkachuk. He's the little sibling, but guess what?
That's right, yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
he's a pretty damn good little sibling. And that's how we feel sometimes is, yeah, we're the little sibling. We get it. But we would rather be the little sibling
it's
than
authentic, as you meant. Like it's
Yeah.
It's I won't spend too much time on this. I thought it was cool to see. I hold the line, hold the fort. This is our house. That kind of talk, right? So, last thing then for you, Ian. I'm I'm curious as a guy who has now made the jump from the media, and you were still doing, you had to be at the games, you had to be at practices, you had to travel to do other stories. So late nights and post-game press conferences and whatever else. Now you're the guy running that post-game press conference. You're going to have to be the guy for post-morning skate media availabilities.
Yep.
Has there been much of a change in your home life, your work-life balance?
You know what? Probably have to bring my wife in to ask her. Again, probably being in the office has been the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm in every day. And like it's good and it's bad. Like I would say, I think back, like one thing I don't miss as much as I miss, right, and I do plan on like this season coming up and beyond having more of my fingerprints on the storytelling and doing some writing again.
Yeah.
With the team. Like I miss the writing.
Like a team's internal blog kind of thing, or
no, like our website, like writing feature stories and doing that type of thing.
Yeah.
For our fans. But what I don't miss is, let's say the Sens would play a game and I'd get back home at like 11 p.m. and I'd have to start writing with The Athletic. And sometimes I wouldn't file until 1:45 in the morning. I don't miss that. Like I don't miss the pressure of, I never had deadline pressure, but the pressure to write is something that people don't understand. Like unless you've been a writer, and it was really privileged to do it for 4 years. The pressure that you constantly have of what's my next story?
Mm-hmm.
What's my next feature? What are my next 3 stories? What's my week look like? Like there's a pressure
this
there.
one has to lead into this one.
And especially when you work in a subscription-based model, there is a real feeling of like you owe it to your like they're paying me their money, and I don't care if they're on the $1 a week subscription or they're paying $8. You're paying me some degree of your money.
Yeah,
and
I'm here.
There's
for
high
the Sens
expectations.
guy. Yes, yeah,
and so I don't miss that. And so from a work-life balance,
it's like you're facilitating for those people, but then you don't have to go home and do that last part, the hardest part.
No,
right?
my night could end at 10:30, 11 versus 1:30 or 2. Yeah,
And you go home to bed instead of going home to write.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Are you happy?
Wow, like a really like.
Well, that's where I want to close.
Introspective question. Imagine I said.
You made a big,
imagine I said like, no, I'm kind of not.
This
kind of not happy.
Yeah.
No,
you guys have no idea. Sly's really annoying to work with every day or whatever.
No, I super happy. You know what? What I like if you went back a year from now, late July, and asked me, kind of what a year later, what would you have wanted to accomplish? How would you feel? Whatever. I don't think I could have scripted a better first year. So much of it was out of my control, like the team doing well,
right?
And various factors you have no control of. So that part I really have no. But like I just felt like I reached my limit as a journalist. I think I accomplished everything I wanted to, and that's not to say I was the best. I just reached my own internal limit. And so I just wanted to be pushed, like really, really pushed,
right,
and really challenged in my career, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm super happy that I made the leap because it wasn't easy. Like I said, I love the Athletic, but when you get to experience a season like we just did, and what I think I'm most excited about and what makes me happy is that. Okay, well, now we got to do it all over again.
Right.
And now we got to even be better.
Sure.
And that's so exciting. And I think living and dying with the results of a game, which is something I haven't done outside of being a Dallas Cowboys fan.
And a ring-at coach.
And a ring-at coach. But like living and dying with our games was a really, really cool experience that I hadn't experienced in 20
to some degree,
years.
it puts you right on the same level as fans. I want this win.
Bingo.
I want this
suddenly
win.
You're like, oh my God, please score on this power play.
Right.
Please kill this penalty. Please whatever. I hadn't had sweaty palms and a racing heart in ages, and it was fun. And so to get to do that and to work with such a great group, I am so happy doing this. I miss writing.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to get a chance to do some of that again this year.
Well, I think that's probably exciting news for a lot of people. But we put out a call for questions when we let people know you were coming in studio, and we got that one a few times. Just ask him if he's happy. And I thought that's a really pure, like a really genuine people.
Was it my wife who texted that in? Was it from Sonia?
He didn't cut the grass today. Ask him if he's happy.
Are you happy? Yeah.
You're right. Like in some ways, it's very simple. In other ways, it's very existential. Right?
Yeah,
like,
it was something. It felt like a very
Things got
existential
real,
question.
Yeah. Look, this is great, man. I'm so happy you did this. I've pumped the brakes a couple times as we've been teeing up what else is going on this summer, but we are trying to organize one more thing with you and perhaps a guest alongside you. We won't tease that yet until we're sure we can make that happen. But I'm really glad you came back in, man. It's been a little while. You're a very busy man at this point. You're tough to get a hold of. It meant a lot to me that you showed up to our 10th anniversry thing.
Yeah, listen. I wouldn't have missed that one because I think what you've built up is really cool. What you've done with a lot of my colleagues in the media, like Michaela Schreider and AJ and Creech and Vanessa Sanchez,
our buddy Bunda. We don't
Bunda,
forget,
these are all good people, and so. When you get to see good people collaborating with good people, it makes me feel really good. So, I think you've built up something really cool. And I'll say this again. I've said this before and I've been in your podcast. You ask really smart industry-related questions that not a lot of people would ask. And that's why I love coming on here, is that you want to go inside baseball on stuff. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's not very many platforms where you can talk about the granular details of PR and media and fandom and all the
Bring people inside.
yeah. This is what you do. So I think you do a great job at it.
Well, I appreciate that. You all heard a little while ago, more than a little while ago now, because we've kept Ian for a long time, but what his calendar looks like. And
That's
he
right.
He
All the
managed to
meetings.
squeeze us in.
I actually put you in my calendar, in my work calendar, so that nobody would book me in. I was like 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
Oh, and we kept
on
him way
this
longer
Thursday.
than that.
Yeah.
So, we appreciate you, man. It's been really cool to see, the turnover in general in the Senators organization. Under new ownership, under new management, things are clearly, it doesn't take much more than a quick scan of Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever to see Sens fans feeling a little bit better about how things are going. That coincides with a young, exciting group coming up, and now perhaps I know you're a humble guy, but perhaps no more universally respected guy in this market who has stepped in to kind of be the guy who's going to arrange what the coverage looks like and make sure other people get in and get a chance to ask some questions and talk about me. You've done a fantastic job. The organization has done a terrific job of turning things over. Freaks me out a little as a guy in a blue shirt, but I'll deal with that later.
Okay, can we make one before we sign off here?
Yeah.
Can we make one promise?
Yeah.
You will come to one game in the press box this season. Maybe St. Louis as an incentive.
It almost has to be St.
Okay,
Louis now.
you're going to come to one game in the press box this year.
I would love to do that, man. I would love
Deal.
to do that.
Done.
Yeah, let's do that. And I want to pick you know what? We'll do that part off air. I was going to say I want to pick
Not Toronto.
No, not the team. I want to pick one senator to interview. You're going to do some research. Which senator is a craft beer guy? Which senator's staffer is a craft beer
You know
person?
what? You know what? There's probably some staff. You know what?
Staffers more than likely than players.
Yeah, it's funny. I think
they're healthy. That's lame. Stop
this
being so
generation
healthy.
of players. Yeah.
Don't fight Nick Tarnasky on the golf
on the golf course.
Don't do it.
Apparently.
Don't do
Yeah.
it. We will make that happen this regular
By the time
season.
this episode drops,
That'll be
this
6 weeks
Tarnasky reference will seem
was
so dated.
As it did 4 days ago. Who was that guy again?
Yeah.
This was fun, man. Thank you so much for doing it.
Always a pleasure to drop by.
And we will say to you, good listener, we're working on something else with Ian for later this summer. So we'll try our best to make that happen as well. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you are. Make sure you are hitting that follow button, hitting the subscribe button. Wow, it's time to get out of here.
Budding.
Hitting the subscribe button is, I think, the word I was looking for. And follow along on social media at TalkCan Audio. For Ian Mendes, my name is Matt Robinson. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
It's TCA Summer Sessions.